Got $35 in a six-pack to my name. Spent the rest on beer, now who's to blame? They say I'm drunk nearly all the time. Well, now I know they're just a waste of my time. Well, I know it'll be okay when I get that six-pack in me.
Boys.
Hello, sir.
We are
Boys.
blessed.
Yes. I am the blessed one. How are you? Can you guys hear me okay? Do I sound all right?
You sound great.
How do I look?
You look amazing.
Thank you. Fishing. I'm fishing.
Bridal good.
Yes. Thank you.
Unfortunately clothed. I know that was in your
well,
rider.
Yeah.
But
the podcast is still young. Let's just say that.
Yeah, we have a little game scheduled later on. It's fine. Every time I say you take an item off.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
How are you guys? I've missed you.
Man, we missed you, dude.
I know. Yeah.
Can't say enough nice things about you every time we talk about you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That right back at you guys. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say we missed you too, but I feel like I from afar have been watching you, and not like in the normal way, but I've been,
binoculars watching.
Your special and all your stuff that you put out. It's just
the clippies. Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
Thanks for watching, man. I appreciate it. It's the first time I've really put myself out there online. Like, it's the clips and feeding the algorithm and that whole thing. If you guys don't understand the algorithm, it is a carnivorous plant that comes from this small shop in New York City, and they sing about it, and you have to just keep putting clips into it, and it grows larger and larger. Yeah.
Name Audrey.
Oh,
yeah, Audrey too.
Yes. Audrey too.
Yeah.
Rick Moranis may have been involved.
I think he is in the algorithm. Yeah. Yeah.
For a half second, I was hoping you were gonna mess up his name and be like Rick Marino.
Rick Marino.
No, I owe Rick Marino several $1,000s, so I'm not going to say his name.
That's like something that my mom would call the former Dolphins quarterback.
Yeah.
Who's that guy, Rick Marino, with the glove commercials?
Oh, yeah. I loved him in Ace Ventura.
Mm-hmm. You know what he did, though? Mm-hmm. They all did it.
The Isotona commercials?
Oh,
also about kissing a man.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. That movie was I just loved that. I was a junior in high school, I guess, when that came out, and it was just like, that's prime age. It's prime.
It's still madness, though. It's still great to watch.
Good.
Yeah. And then I still remember, and maybe I should revisit, or you can tell me I shouldn't if you can weigh in on this. I don't know if you can, but I remember it was one of the first dates I ever went on. I think it was actually my first movie date with a gal, and we went to see The Mask.
Oh, right.
And my favorite part of the movie The Mask was the trailer for Dumb and Dumber that we saw the first time. I still remember it just came on cold open to the scene in the truck where he's like, you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world. Yeah. And to this day, that might be one of the funniest. And you could tell like that was improvised, and you can see like they had to just have Jeff, what's his name? The other guy, Jeff Daniels. He's laughing in the shot. Yeah. It's like the only shot, but it's so funny.
What's the guy's name? Mike Starr. Yeah, he's like he rolls with it, but you can tell he's kind of laughing too.
Yep,
he's kind of got a smile on his face.
But at the same time, he's like, when's this going to end? Because they do the half beat too long, which makes it even funnier.
Yes, yeah.
And The Mask. The only thing truly funny in The Mask was where he was accepting the award and he walks off stage the wrong way and then it corrects. And past that movie's just a wild cash grab, right? Let's make Jim Carrey do faces.
Yes. Yeah.
The one thing about that movie that sticks with me is that
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, when I saw Cameron Diaz in that movie, I was like, I truly felt like a man for the first time. I was a kid, but I was like, I want to be every part of this. I dress like her still.
That was her first. that was her first big picture, right? I think.
Yeah.
It's kind of her introducing Cameron Diaz kind of thing. And then her in, I think the first movie besides E.T., because I was 5 years old when E.T. came out, and like every adult in my life and in America wanted to see that movie. So they would just take a 5-year-old to go see it. So I saw E.T. like 6 times in the theater, I think, just because like my aunt took me, my parents took me,
Right.
my grandparents took me, and which was great. I just loved it. But I think the first movie I ever saw twice in a theater, like that I decided to do, was There's Something About Mary. And
Right.
to
Oh,
this
right.
day, I was just in that era. I was in college. It just hit me the right way. I think that's maybe pound for pound my favorite comedy of all time. Is There
It's
Something About
we
Mary?
were spoiled for good comedies
Mhm.
at
Yeah.
a certain time.
Like Dumb and
Yes.
Dumber,
Yeah.
to me, it's almost a perfect comedy as well. It's so
But you had like
Yeah.
timeless.
Billy Madison, Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura. Like, you got
And then you also
yeah.
have the world of like, which I got really into, like you had Kevin Smith, say what you will, like
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like some of his later ones. It's like
Yeah.
you go back and you watch Mallrats or you watch Chasing Amy or whatever. Like, but like Clerks was just that just blew my mind.
You,
Clerks blew my mind. And then you had like, cause so I was a big, like, I loved those indie films and there were so many funny, weird indie movies. And then you had like Pulp Fiction, which was funny in its own, there was humor in that, which was so we were very spoiled.
Oh yeah.
Kingpin, come on,
Yeah.
boys, Kingpin.
yeah.
Still quote that.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I saw that in the theater.
Flossin. Where'd I get Munson?
The scene with the where he's talking about milking the bull.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, oh, I need nothing else, man. This is so
It's
good.
so funny. And then you get so it's like, and then we grow as men, and then it becomes like, so it's like, you have the Dumb and Dumber stuff, you have the Clerk stuff, and you're like, oh, I'm an indie film connoisseur, and then you think, you have all these things, and then you get into I still remember I was dating a girl my senior year of college, and we had just graduated, and like I knew things, like she was going off to medical school or law school or something, I forget, a school, and I was living at home with my parents, and I had like a part-time teaching job, I was just, and I was like, this probably isn't going to last long, but I still remember one night we rented Rushmore for
Oh
the first
yeah.
time,
Nice.
and she hated it so much we turned it off, and then I took the VHS home and watched it the next day, and I was like, this is the greatest movie ever. And it was like, I was kind of sad about, I knew this relationship was probably coming to an end, and then I was like, oh, I'm not that sad anymore because
Yeah.
like she doesn't like Rushmore. And then this is funny, a couple years later I was watching this, like it was like A&E's biography of Ben Stiller, and they were talking about how Ben Stiller was always, his friends were talking about how he was so picky about the girls he dated that he would always find a reason not to like them. And apparently he had this one girl that everybody was like, she was perfect, she was amazing, but they went to see Wes Anderson's Bottle Rocket, his first movie, the one right
Nice.
Yeah,
before,
Owen Wilson.
and she didn't like it, and he broke up with her because she didn't like it. She's like, he's like, I can't be with somebody who doesn't like Bottle Rocket.
That's a John move if I ever heard it
Yeah,
in my
that's
life.
Yeah.
right on. Well,
Mhm.
because that's something that's going to come up again and again. So,
I stopped
Yeah.
taking dates to comedies early on.
but that's also it's good to like, it's fun to annoy your girlfriend sometimes.
Sure.
So that's always fun to have that in your
90%
pocket.
of my moves.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
eventually it's going to, you're going to stop the car or not stop the car and get out. Either way, moving
Roll
car.
out.
Yeah, roll out of the car during a fight. So, ultimately it's probably the harbinger of death for
Right.
relationships.
I was so excited. I even got yesterday just a little bit of validation in my 7-year marriage where like my wife likes comedy and like, obviously not as much as I do, of course I'm a comedian and everything, but like she likes a lot of stuff, and like I've introduced her to stuff that she's really liked, and we like a lot of the same stuff, which is good. But then there are things that, of course we go our own way with, but we watched, she enjoyed, I think You Should Leave. And like, she didn't
Nice.
watch it all the way through, but like I would show her, you got to watch this one, you got to watch this one, and she would like it. And we watch. And then I'd only ever seen a couple episodes of Detroiters,
Mhm.
also with Tim Robinson, and it just showed up on Netflix. It's on Netflix now.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, the other night I was like, do you want to watch this one episode that, I want to start watching this, see if you want to test the water, see if you want to watch it. And we watched it, and she really liked it. And then yesterday, she that was 2 days ago, and yesterday she was like, hey, do you think we can watch that Detroit show again? Like, I want to keep
Oh,
watching. I was like, yes.
man.
All right,
Nice.
thank you. Good. All right, that is validation right there.
I mean, if that ain't love, I don't know what is.
I don't. Yeah, there should be a Boston song written about that, or
It-
Journey. I don't know, some sort of.
Speaking
There's
of
a couple-
songs, somebody got famous for his Philly news song, "Love."
Yes.
Yes, that was
Somebody
awesome,
did.
dude. Seeing
Thank
you
you.
all over the place for that, it was like, yes.
Thank you.
That's
It's
our
so
guy.
weird. Yeah, it was one of the clips I put out about the Action News theme song, and it's this thing. Like, I don't know how aware you guys are of it, but it's in Philadelphia. There was, and actually this comes back to those comedies too, which is weird. There, there's the three networks basically. You get Fox in later, but like CBS, ABC, NBC, and the ABC affiliate, the Channel 6 in Philadelphia, was like number 3 in the ratings for news for years or whatever. And then in the mid 70s, they put this new crack team together of anchors, reporters, whatever. And it became the Action News as we know it. And this song called Move Closer to Your World is this just like very 70s orchestral, like marching band kind of like pop, like Rocky theme song kind of situation. And they like just catapulted to number 1. And since like the late 70s, they've been with a bullet number 1 in Philadelphia. For it's like nobody watches the other stations. Like it's just you just don't. And it's Action News. And so this song is like so important. It's so bad that in the 90s they didn't get a new theme song for Action News. They just had, I think it was the London Philharmonic re-record it, like just like a little bit of a slower rendition, same song. I want to say London Philharmonic, and within 48 hours they had to change it back to the original because they got so much hate, so much
Wow.
hate.
What
Yeah.
do you think would have happened if they had done a hip hop remix of it in the early 2000s? Would the
Oh,
city burn? What, I
I-
mean,
funny that you say that. Do you know who has done that a number of times? Is Philly Staples' The Roots. The Roots have
Wow.
No.
covered the Action News theme song, and they'll like mix it and stuff. I saw it on, they would do like the 4th of July on the Parkway a lot, and the Roots would kind of host it. They'd be the host band and like whatever. And then Sheryl Crow would be there or whoever. And they would like remix the Action News theme song, and people go wild. Like it's the best. But speaking of the comedy we were talking about, Adam McKay, comedy genius, is from Philadelphia originally.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
either,
yeah, he's a Philly guy. Actually, I know a couple of comics that are still in Philly that were like good friends with Adam coming up like in the late 80s, early 90s. And then he moved on to California. But
Well, that explains Anchorman now.
well, that
Yeah.
he based Anchorman famously, and it apparently on Jim Gardner, who was the head, like the main anchor up into he was my Facebook profile literally until like 2 days ago. I had him for like the last 2 years. Jim Gardner retired from Action News like 2 years. It was during the pandemic. It was like 2021, 2022. And it was like he announced his retirement the year before. And then it was like an entire year of remembering Jim Gardner. And then when he came to like his last, it was like the MASH finale. Like everybody watched it, and there's tears. And I was actually lucky enough. I become friends with the sports reporter for Action News, and he's been really cool. And he brought my wife in for a tour, and we got to watch a live episode, like a live broadcast of the new in the Action News room. It was like being in the White House. And I've worked with a lot of the biggest comedians in the world. I've met a bunch of actors, musicians, whatever, and I'm pretty calm, cool, and collected. I was introduced to Jim Gardner and was starstruck, tongue-tied, couldn't speak. I was just like, because he's the guy he was in my house every day from the time I was an infant. Like he's just there,
Yeah.
like, and your parents watch him and everybody watches him. And luckily, thank God, was literally the nicest, kindest, funniest dude like you'd ever want to. Like Ron Burgundy was based off of him, but like just the good parts. Like it wasn't the
Sure.
arrogant, like whatever he was, but he just had that mustache and that gravitas that just the dude is a legend.
Isn't that just a great reward when you find these people that are institutions in your life and you actually get to interact with them? It's like, oh shit, you're just as cool
A
as
lot
I
of,
always hoped you would be.
I hear that a lot from people that have met me. So
Yeah.
I mean, I hope to be empathetic. to
I
that.
personally was pretty disappointed the first time I met you, but
Yeah.
most people, I will say most people think that about you, John. Yeah,
equally
most people
disappointed.
do.
It goes disappointed to somewhat tolerant and then back to
I'd say somewhat
disappointed.
tolerant. I like, they're like, I really tolerate that guy, John. Like they're like, I really tolerate him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can really stand him for a few minutes at a time. That's what
Yeah.
people say in the nicest way. In the
Right.
nicest
In
way.
the
they say
nicest
that.
way. Yeah. And I
Yes.
take that all as a compliment because I
Yeah.
always say push out the negative, guys. And there's
Yeah.
not much of the positive. So I just
But
I don't
keep
get
that
too,
You're kind of a
inflated.
wallflower at that point.
Right.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
immediately it goes back to disappointed. So
Yeah.
you can't be disappointed if you stay disappointed, right? Like
No.
Oh no, I
So
think people lead their lives.
I
Like
get
that. Yeah.
I get a little bit of the curve up and then I bring them right back down. It's a roller
Yes.
coaster.
Yeah. Set
But
that
not
bar
a-
low and they'll always jump over it.
Right. And it's like a child's roller coaster because it's not a quick, not a drastic fall. It's just
It's like one of those ones that looks like a caterpillar. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's really scared, but no one's really happy about it.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it's very neutral. You're more like a subway ride rather than a roller coaster.
So yeah, I've heard
Like
that
four
too.
four stops on a subway ride. Yeah.
I've heard that.
Just as much danger of being stabbed in certain places.
Yes, right. Exactly. And it kind of smells a little weird.
Oh,
know,
yeah, I get
and-
that a lot.
You've ridden this train before, sir. You know
yeah,
what I'm talking
I have.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You kind of watch your wallet.
Yep.
Yeah.
I smell like piss.
Good call.
And,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
It's only 'cause
For some reason you don't get much cell service, which is that's just a weird aspect of interacting with you.
I mean, I have my minutes, Sonny.
yeah,
Preserving.
man. I almost miss minutes because
Yeah.
that would get you in a quandary every now and then.
It could get you out of one too. I can't talk now.
I can't talk. I got minutes. Yeah,
Minutes.
That
Well,
was just such a weird. Oh my god! Like just to, like you can call anybody now. There's no long distance. There's
Mhm.
no. The one thing I will say that I hated that I thought I could get away from was as a Gen Xer or apparently I'm a Xennial, whatever. That I'm at the tail end of Gen X, but I see memes, people talking about this, but like when we were kids and you wanted to call a friend or like, God forbid, a girl, and you're so nervous anyway, you just had to call their residence
Yeah.
and then most likely talk to their parents.
Yeah.
And like, it was just the worst. And as Gen Xers, like we don't want to talk to anybody else. Like we're just backwards and just antisocial. So, and then you have to talk to a parent and remember what you're going to say to the middle school friend or the girl, whatever. And it was just awful. And then I thought we were past that and I was like, oh, because kids today don't have to worry about it. They just text each other. They can call each other's phones. There's no gatekeeper. And now what I've realized is now we're on the other end of it, where half the time when I call my friends, they give their dumb kids their 4-year-old the phone to like play a game or like watch a YouTube thing to just shut them up because that's parenting. And so then I'll call and then I'll get their 4-year-old kid on the phone that I have to interact with.
No, Chucky, put your dad on the phone. I ain't got time for this shit today.
Yeah.
Hey,
Santa Claus isn't real. Put your father on the phone.
Put your father on the phone. I want to tell about this OnlyFans I've found, and he knows what I'm talking about.
It's the midget
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's strange. And I don't know, I feel like I'm doing an old bit, but like the old corded phone where you had to like if you were around your parents, you had to kind of hide a little bit and
Yes.
you're talking to a girl.
Yeah, the
you're
fake
like
hiding
in a closet.
It's just like if you can't see me, you can't hear anything that's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm literally just around the wall in
Around
the kitchen.
a corner.
The
Yeah.
most the most echoey room in the house.
So
Although
either-
I will say I do miss something about corded phones because and like phone booths, not that people were doing a lot of like long phone calls in a phone booth, but it reminds me of this one time in the 90s I was standing outside a broken phone booth with chain quarters in my what's the name of that? Do you remember that song? Do you guys remember that song from the 90s? Standing outside
the
broken phone booth
and the cable
with
guy.
pocket full of change.
Primitive radio gods.
Primitive radio gods,
yeah.
Been down haunted, yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
So, but no, what I appreciate about corded phones is it, for the most part, you were just on the phone. And then you were literally tethered to a friend. You had to be there and listen. Now I'll just hang up on people anymore. Like I'll have friends who you're having a conversation, you're having a heart to heart. And then all of a sudden it's like, they're in a construction site. Like you're you're like, hey, I'm really not doing well today. I had this issue with my, whatever. I'm not feeling great. What can I? Oh yeah, Yes. And then there's like bang, bang, bang. And I'm like, is everything all right over there? He's like, oh, yeah, I'm just loudly emptying the dishwasher. It's like, all right, can you please just maybe
Focus.
just not focus right now? It's like, yeah, just pour your heart about your relationship with your mom while I throw these handfuls of quarters at the sheet metal for 5 minutes.
Also,
Don't worry about me. Yeah.
I've got some concrete I need to jackhammer now.
Yeah.
Let me
Exactly. Yeah. Let me just get the bandsaw on while you tell me about your grandmom in hospice. Okay, sure. Let's do that. Yeah. I'm just shellacking a table.
Don't mind me. I'm going hands free is the end of every conversation for me now.
Oh God. Yeah. It's just like, oh yeah, no, you're just in the open air market at the food court right now. Yeah. That's really what I want to hear. No, I'll talk to you at a different time. Or in fact, I'll just find a new friend.
Yeah.
there was a level of accountability too there. Like if you're gonna be somewhere, like that
I'm calling you at 8 o'clock, dude.
Yes.
there was like a little bit of an adventure too. If somebody wasn't somewhere and you knew they were like possibly in this spot or this spot, you kind of you can make a night of that.
But reservations for phone time is just so romantic. Look, I'll call
Yeah,
you about
it
8
is.
o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
You don't get that anymore.
No, we should. I think I'm going to call you guys. I'm going to call you guys. We're
You,
going to set up
got
phone
my
dates.
number. You call me
Phone
anytime you want.
dates.
Yeah.
And then we'll just pick a time and and it's just like, here it is. Here it comes.
The last phone date you and I had, a comedy club caught on fire.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's just, and you're still not ruled out as a suspect, but man,
In this state,
Drove
they'll
da-
never catch me.
no, they won't. Man, if anybody can wipe fingerprints, it's you. I came down to do Good Nights and I did one show and then the place burnt down the next day and I had to just turn around and drive all the way back to Philadelphia.
Remember that, John? That was the night you went missing.
I went missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Somehow.
were nowhere to be found.
No, I was.
And
I
you
was
came back and you smelled like that campfire and you're like, oh, I was out in the woods with my friends. That's why I
Uh,
smell like a campfire.
He
I
and
was-
mozzarella sticks.
Well, well, if you're gonna make a stop,
Yeah.
conserve
Why?
gas.
Yeah. Why do you smell like a campfire, mozzarella sticks, and Dana Gold?
Yeah.
That just seems weird. Like, what campground were you at?
Why do you have a singed copy of an autographed Judy Tenuta picture? I mean, what's up with that, dude?
Well, I have a motto and I stick by this. It's what's funnier than comedy? Burning buildings. You know what I mean?
Bernie, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey,
It's-
yeah. I don't get aroused by jokes.
yeah.
Flames
else?
on the other hand.
I mean,
yeah.
I can't go to the grocery store and stab meat anymore, so I might as well,
Allegedly. Damn you, Big Brother state.
yeah. Security cameras. So
I feel like that. Okay, now as some law enforcement expertise here. I'm not technically a detective or an investigator or anything like that, but I have seen every episode of Forensic Files many times. So I feel
That
like
makes you smarter than most of us. So you're
Mhm.
good.
yeah, right. I feel like arson is. It seems like, at least in Forensic Files world, one of the easiest things to detect. Like, oh yeah, this was somebody definitely set this on fire. Like it was-
Detecting if it is arson is generally easier. Detecting who did it,
Who did it?
all that shit is way fucking harder.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah,
And also arson investigators, I'm just going to tell you the truth. They're all messed up. Like, they're all weird.
really.
You get a
yeah.
dude who's a dedicated arson investigator. 9 out of 10 times it's a firefighter who wants to be a detective.
Yeah,
And then you got that 1 out of 10 dude who, like, he's the guy I want to listen to. He's the dude who has all the best information, but he's the weirdest dude you're ever going to meet in your life.
yeah.
Like, he's also a taxidermist, or
Right,
he's
yes.
sometimes a child dentist. I don't know. Something fucked up is gonna happen.
child dentist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Yeah.
like, you're some baggage.
He definitely wore a kilt to his second wedding.
Yeah, for sure. And he's like, we're gonna get it right for the homeland this time. And we're like,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
are
Are you-
Puerto Rican.
Are you talking about my
Yes.
Uncle Robert?
Yeah. No, it's arson investigators are often far more interesting than arson. And I don't mean that in a good way.
Right.
But yeah, detecting if there's a fire, it's like, okay, well, there's either like a Y-shaped pattern, which indicates an accelerant. There's streaking. There are things where, you can tell where electrical boxes have been manipulated. They've looped currents or whatever. Detecting a fire being there Not the hardest thing in the world. Who did
Yeah.
it? Now that's the tough one.
That's got to be tough.
That's where real detectives come in.
Can I get some tips on that, by the way?
Yeah.
I'm trying to, they say put in what 10,000 hours, and
Yeah, you're a master at anything.
yeah, I'm getting good,
Um,
getting better.
there are ways that I can tell you to start fires that are far less detectable, but I don't think it's responsible of me to do that here.
No,
But
no.
you will converse, just because academically you're interested.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just an interest. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it's arson's a wild thing, and it's nothing I like to play with. Unless there's a dead body involved,
Mhm.
I steer clear of arson investigations.
That's a good idea. That is a good idea.
Child dentistry, though, you said that was, I mean,
It is that weird.
but
No
it's
shit.
like half the work, I think, or maybe more, but it's smaller teeth.
Well, I think it's like being a jeweler.
Yeah, man.
At that point, that's some fine work.
I feel like a child dentist, there's a little bit less of a lift or like a risk because it's like
the pressure's off.
The teeth are going to fall out anyway.
Yeah. Mhm.
Might as well just like that. The worst dentist should be child dentists. It's
Yeah,
like,
you should be a
just gonna-
practice dentist.
Right. Yeah. It's
I know
like,
it- I know a child dentist, and I went to high school with one, and he is I remember him being literally the slowest person to ever run a mile that possibly.
Well, that's
ever.
only because he was one of the biggest potheads you've ever known.
Yeah, but he was actually running like, but almost in reverse. It was
Pretty
that
slow.
slow.
Yeah,
it was also
great.
the nitrous too. The nitrous slows you down.
Yeah,
that's
well,
entirely possible.
yeah.
Yeah.
He I mean, it's weird that he took the breaks, and like the people hand the water out.
Tall, thin dude. Should have been a marathon runner.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
And couldn't do it. Wow.
No.
but yeah, he
Interesting.
stopped
That
for
is-
nitrous breaks every.
Yeah, it looked like when Bugs Bunny and whoever was chasing him ran through the ether.
Yeah.
Like, whoa,
Yeah.
He also got fed to that plant we were talking about earlier. But
That's true. Yeah.
Rick Moran, that little shop
I
of
do
horrors joke.
the best.
Yeah.
You always bring the A game, but coming in with Little Shop of Horrors is just only.
I
chip.
try.
I was gonna ask you. Well, you mentioned Halloween on your wonderful special,
Which is,
Yes, it did.
again, I encourage everyone to go watch.
are you-
Although I could use one more bird joke, just saying.
There are more. I have a couple more. People are like, you got to do more bird jokes. So I'm
I
like
believe in you.
specifically because here's the thing. The hardest thing about for me to write jokes, like I consider myself pretty prolific, but it's like I feel like I'm in a weird area now because it's like, the special's out there for the first time ever. Like I've done albums before, but like, oh man, people are seeing this. So it's like I've not totally burned it. I mean, I'm still doing some of that material because you have to develop the next hour. But it's like I feel like now that I have to develop it, it's like, oh shit, and I need to get on the ball with writing more. I'm not the most. I was always pretty prolific, but I was never somebody that just sits down and writes. Like I have to be inspired, and you're out there. I'm always thinking comedy,
Yeah.
but if you tell me you're like, Chip, sit down and write me a joke. I want you to write me a stand-up joke right now. Let's jump off the podcast for 4 minutes and write me a joke, or 10 minutes, and we'll come back and you have to do a joke. I would be totally scattered. I'm sure I'm ADD, and I was like, I wouldn't be able to do it. But if you're like, Chip, write me a bird joke, I'll write you 5 bird jokes and like bang them out because I'm focused. It's focused me. So I've gotten the focused on some bird jokes. So I'm going to do that. But I'm sorry. Yes. Halloween. And listen to me. Move closer. Chip Chantry on YouTube. That's what
Yes,
everybody should go watch.
please.
Well, before we
Move
get into
closer.
Halloween, I'll say you were so sharp that entire special. Like there's not a down moment in that special.
Like a fucking switchblade.
And I hate
Thank
to
you.
give compliments. It just hurts me to my
I-
soul.
Yeah, it hurts me too. Yeah,
But,
trust me, I don't like to receive them.
But
I'm
gonna give
Lutheran.
you
It
some more.
doesn't. It's not for our people. Yeah. And by the way, I do have to. Speaking of compliments, I do have to give a compliment to my partner and my he's my former boss, and we actually have we can even talk about this in a little bit. We have a couple fun things on the horizon coming up in 2025, the two of us. But he's out in LA. But he is my co-producer, Thomas O'Brien, my co-producer on the special. He did the editing for the special. He
Wow,
edited all
nice.
of those clips that went out. I don't do any of that. And I did that set that day was about an hour and 15 minutes. And we've edited it down to, it's like 51. So we got rid of almost 25 minutes worth of jokes for one reason or another. So part of that, how sharp that is his editing and just like keeping the pace moving like a freight train.
Well,
you know,
it's-
another credit to him, you know, a lot of people edit and do the thing. That was a very seamless special.
Yeah, you can-
Usually by trade, you note the editing and something. Because we watch a lot of comedy, obviously.
Yeah.
And that I can't remember anything that wasn't seamless. So all the
Thank you.
transitions are fantastic. So good day, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you. And that's all Thomas. And he is somebody who, so he was my boss, my showrunner and producer for a couple of the TV shows I wrote on. And he has worked on like clip shows and comedy shows for decade, like probably close to 20 years now, maybe 15 years. And just has that knack of he can just sit and edit. And for some of the shows that I worked on with him, I had to do some like very basic editing, not like finished editing, but like, here's where you should come in, here's where you should, and like he can just finesse so many things so perfectly. That was his very first comedy special that he ever like stand-up special that he ever edited, and he took the time and like made like I was just I'm blown away by it today. So yeah, so he's
Likewise.
great.
I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
There's
Electric O'Brien Productions.
even like a small thing, but like a lot of comedy specials don't feel like they're in a club. Like, it seems like a guy is putting on a production, but you seem it really got the experience of watching a comedian, something small like the crowd laughter. Like a lot of people will mute that but it's like, when you're immersed in that, which I think is a huge part of live performance, when you're part of the crowd, you have this collective energy that's going on. And I think like something small like that, having the right volume of that was just really good, man. It's really like a seamless special. And I make a lot of empty promises, and I make a lot of lies on this show
every day.
But this one, I mean,
I'm still waiting for my Pollyanna gift from last year, but whatever. Go ahead.
But yeah, if you guys listen, I guarantee, I really actually guarantee that you'll love this special. It's
yeah, I'm gonna throw the guarantee on that too.
Yeah, it's so
Thank
good.
you.
That's
so good.
I really appreciate that. It's one of the only things in my life I've ever been proud of, and I really love it. And and thank you for mentioning that too, about like the sound and everything. First of all, the sound was done by my good friend from high school, Alex Dingley, who is also a great sound engineer. He's the one who recorded my first album. He recorded, I think, 2 of Pat House's albums, Pat Barker, Mary Rudzinski, a couple other people. He did their audio albums over a couple years. He's just a great sound guy. So I brought him in. My friend Paul Trigiani, who is in the comedy scene too. He was basically the director and did the 4-camera shoot. And, I was kind of looking for, I'm a production guy, I'm not technically, but, I was like, all right, theme song. What's a good entrance music or whatever. And Thomas was like, I don't think we need it. He's like, let's just get in. It should be raw. You can see the crowd a little bit. And like you said, we wanted it to feel like, not like, hey, here's some big production and like, the music and then a guy up on stage above everybody. It's like, we kind of start, it's a kind of a cold open.
Yeah.
We go, there's no music and it's just boom. And then I do one kind of quick intro joke and then just title card. And then you're just right into it. And we wanted it to feel like you were just sitting at the club.
Well, it definitely does. And, I hate to laugh as well. And I watched the first time I watched it, I was by myself and I was, laughing out loud like a maniac. And I was happy, but also very mad at myself for laughing. And you did that to me. And I just wanted to confront you about that.
I'm glad I put you in an awkward situation.
Yeah, it was.
I caught him doing
great.
it. Yeah. It was great.
I love it. I love it.
But he literally there were LOLs like aplenty. And I waited a minute to come into the room. So
I only use LOL in text or DMs.
Yeah.
I won't use
I would love it if you did catch him in the other room just literally yelling LOL.
Oh, that would be great. That's better than the racial epithets he usually yells in the other room. So
well, it's both of them are offensive. Both of them are offensive.
Well, football wasn't on. It was just a special.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have a strange and wonderful trick in this special, and it's something I noticed. I don't know.
Which weird. We edited the part out where I cut the lady in half. You're talking about something else. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah.
When you come
she bled out and you said ta-da, and I was like, "Oh, that is a pretty good trick."
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
It's almost like the audience has to catch you. Like most time people come in and it's like, here I am, audience, and they present themselves. It's almost like these people have caught you on the street.
Yeah.
And you're like, they've been looking for you, and now you're going to give it to them.
Yes.
Kind of thing. And that's a great, I don't know if that's conscious. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it is, but it's really great.
Are you talking like speed wise, or just like
just in the initial approach, like through the first 3 minutes of that special?
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like they like, we've been looking for you. We found him, and they caught you, and you're being nice, but any minute you could walk away from this conversation if you wanted to.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it is like, I feel like I kind of go back and forth between being like, I remember being told, and hopefully this is what you mean by this, but like, I was always like I was known as like the clean comic and the nice guy and the whatever. And it's like, I consider myself to be pretty nice, and I am fairly clean. Like it's not, I don't go dirty like too much or anything. It's just not something I do. But like, it's just like, it's also like, I want there to be a little bit, I think sometimes there is a little bit of like a disdain for an audience, even though I love that audience. It's like,
and it's not rude.
I'm going to give it to you.
It's not rude. It's honest. And it's fucking great, because the audience has to keep up with you.
Yes.
They have to.
I have an agenda, guys, and they can't. It's like, I'm not waiting for you. We're not pandering, It's even like when I did the like the crowd work thing, where I just kind of said hi, and it's like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk. And by the way, some of those people, like I knew some of those because it's, my fans and friends and stuff like that. So it's like, I even knew some of those people in the front, and it's like, yeah, no, I'm doing my thing up here. I think that's the one thing that really annoys me about crowd work videos. And I get why people do crowd work videos. We don't have to get into that whole situation, but it's like, I don't want to hear about the audience's sex life or what they do for a living. I don't care. I want to hear what you have to say about the world. And like, there can be very funny crowd work, like Jimmy Pardo, Ian Bagg are some of the best crowd work comedians in the world, Big J, but it's also like, I also don't care about the audience. I came to watch the comedian. I want to hear about their life, and so it's like, guys, it's my turn. It's my turn up here. I'm gonna do this, and I don't care about any of you.
And also the audience, they're not insulted. Like, you're not insulting these people. It's like, you can keep up.
Yeah,
fucking keep up.
Well,
let's go.
I always like when my favorite part of seeing a comedian, like when comedians do this, I love it. They'll stop a show and they'll say, "Hey guys, let's just give yourself a hand for about 5 to 10 minutes. Let's do that." And everybody's just clapping, get the energy out,
Yeah.
Well, you also like comedy where there's a plastic sheet required in the first few rows. So
no, that was a splash zone. That was actually cut out. The watermelons and the cream pies that was all cut out. Of
the Chip-O-Matic.
Yeah. No, and it's one of those things too where like, I think like some of my favorite comics are sort of performative, and I want to keep up obviously with current comedy, and a lot of current comedy to a certain extent is confessional, and you're just very loose and you're talking to the audience, and I think that's great and all, but it's like, I love, like I mentioned before, some of my favorites: Dana Gould, Paul F. Tompkins, of course Todd Glass is a friend of mine, Gary Goldman, and like those, they're just so, Maria Bamford. It's very performative. Like, they're putting on a show. They have a thought out bit where they're going to do examples, and there's going to be an act out, and there's going to be all this. And sometimes I think that, like, I hate to think that style to a certain extent is like getting outdated, because it's almost like, sometimes I almost feel like crowds want you to just like talk to them. And it's almost like, I feel like I have to like hook them in a little bit more, rather than just being like, here's an idea that I have. Follow me. I'm going to take you on a journey. And so like, I think some crowds, it's like, you need to make it more about them rather than just like, I'm just here to see this performance here. So I try to stay conscious of that.
But I also,
and that's, I mean, it's clear. It comes through. You're concise. You do your thing, and don't change. Please don't change that.
What?
It's so fun. It's so great. Like Dana Gould, one of our all-time favorites.
So fun.
Yeah. You can definitely see how you come off that. He had a bit on a show called Working with Fred Savage. I will never, ever, ever stop. It's one of my favorite sight gags of all time.
Yeah.
He's like, this guy comes in, is like, "Oh, you must be Jimmy." He was a side character named Jimmy. He's like, "Yeah, how could you tell?" He's like, "Oh, because of the rings." And he has this fucking cluster of man rings he just puts together, and it spells out Jimmy. You're like, It meant nothing, but it came out. You didn't see his hands, and they came out of nowhere. It's like, yeah, he just bullied. Yeah, it just it's there and gone, and it's brilliant.
That's so funny. And he is just somebody who just like takes you on this thing. One of my it might be my favorite bit of all time from his I think it's I Know It's Wrong special from or album from like 2011, his animal aftercare bit where he talks about taking his dog to be put down and then about the process of what it's like. The woman's like, you know, we're the only registered place in Southern California that we can cremate horses. And he's like, and then he's crying about his dog, but then he's still crying. He's like, can I see the next time you cremate a horse? Can I come and watch? And then he has this whole story cooked up about how what you can do with the horse corpse then. And it's so funny. But again, it's a performance and it has nothing to do with the audience. The audience doesn't have to be there. And it's still just so funny because he's putting on this show. Yeah. And that's what I love. I love putting on a show.
You can tell. I mean, it fucking comes through, dude. Love it.
Thank you.
I think that we did get way down with so much of the heavy confessional stuff that I think people are at a point where they want to laugh about things and they, silly things are refreshing. It's almost like it's
almost like people like jokes and fun.
Well,
right. Yeah.
You get way down with everyday life, the issues of like this or that, political or personal, whatever. And sometimes you're like, you need to laugh, man. You just need to have fun.
And I love that silly stuff. Like that's how I deal with my stuff that I have anxiety and stuff like that. That I don't really get into, but it's like I just make things like whenever I see a horrible event, and you guys, I know you guys are in this camp, but when I grew up in the 80s, especially in Philadelphia, there was just a string of terrible things that happened either in Philadelphia or in the world. There was MOVE happened in Philadelphia, which I don't know. Basically, the city of Philadelphia bombed itself.
Right. Yeah.
In like when I was in like second grade. Third grade was the Challenger. Fourth grade was Bud Dwyer that I saw I watched live as a 9-year-old.
Oh,
and there was like a couple of like I saw that.
And you guys had freeway shooters too. Yeah, during the freeway shooter epidemic. That was you guys.
Or that was DC, or was that Philly?
It was LA, Philly, DC, New York. Like it happened in the majors.
It was just the wildest stuff. We had Uncle Eddie, who is this, if you know Eddie Savitz, like that. I think I did. I think I did a Little Stinkers episode about Uncle Eddie Savitz. That happened. So, this is actually funny. Speaking of the news, Gary Heidnick was a crazy serial killer that partially Silence of the Lambs was based on, like of course Ed Gein, and then but Gary Heidnick in the mid 80s was found out. I was a 4th grade Cub Scout, and my dad was friends with one of the guys at one of the TV stations, ironically, not Action News, but one of the other TV stations in town. And we got a tour of, it was like the NBC local affiliate TV station. It was the afternoon that the Gary Heidnick story, one of the most infamous, horrendous, graphic, horrific serial killers in Philadelphia and even national history, broke the afternoon that we Cub Scouts were down there for a tour. So we learned as 9-year-olds every detail just because we're in the newsroom, and they're like, he cut off her head and boiled it, and then he's like, he put her in some water and shocked her, and we're just walking around, and the tour guide is just like beside himself. He's like, I'm so sorry, and my dad's like, hey, the news is the news, and he's like, whatever,
see it here, leave it home.
But what I want to get back to is like the way that I dealt with the Challenger, the way that I saw when the Challenger exploded was literally like my dad and his friends and like older friends in the neighborhood or whatever, just like the next day making jokes about it, like telling 1,001 Chris McCullough joke, and it's like, because if you really boil it down, it's so horrible that their defense mechanism is you have to laugh at it or I'm going to cry, and I can't cry. So we might as well laugh at it to keep it at an arm's length. So whenever I go to something that's dark, the first thing I do is silly. Or even too, like when I talk about sex, if I talk about sex on stage, it's going to be cartoonish. It's not going to be like graphic and then I did this and then this happened. It's like, no, there's going to be a clown and a unicycle involved somehow.
Yeah. It's not looking like the inside of one of John's notebooks.
Well, and the only reason you know what my notebooks look like is because
Because
I
you
put them
leave them
online.
everywhere.
It's not going to look like the scrawl on the wall of his cell.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's just because I put them on Reddit. And
Yeah, Why
Yes.
do you why do you not type them in? You just scan the pages. It's much more disturbing with the drawings.
I don't know. I'm not savvy
Yeah.
technologically speaking, so I don't know.
Back to you just said the cell wall thing, and the how you deal with things. I had an inmate. I worked at a jail when I first started way back.
Oh, I didn't know
then.
if this was like a personal story.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not one of those.
I've locked him up.
The old dungeon, the old fun dungeon.
Oh, they're calling them inmates now. Great.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's one inmate in the well.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
This one fella, he was a trustee in a jail, and he was always doing bits. He was a very funny dude. He was always smiling, and basically the reasons he was in there was he was poor. He
Yeah.
couldn't pay things that were unreasonable. It just he was poor, so he got incarcerated for being poor.
Yeah.
I looked at him and was like, dude, you're always laughing and smiling and cutting up, and it's like you're having the time of your life every day. He goes, here's a secret I learned a long time ago. He was a middle-aged gentleman. He said, you can go through life laughing or crying. The choice is yours. They can't take that one away from you. They can take everything else, but they're not able to take how you meet this. So most of these days, I'm going to laugh every time I can.
Well,
some days I'll have my crying days, but today I'm laughing.
Best.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Hey, what about you?
I'm actually trying to pass legislation where we can take laughing.
I know
away.
you're working
And
on it.
if we get this passed through, it's going to be big.
Well, the laughter must die.
Yeah.
Project 2026.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I don't want to blow up his spot too much, but there is a very funny comic in Buffalo who works is Attica near Buffalo, I think.
Yes.
Like Attica,
Upstate New York. Yep.
Yeah, he is a prison guard, and I think it's in Attica. And I can't remember if it was Mark David Chapman or it was either the guy who the Reagan assassination attempt
Hinckley.
or John Lennon. It was either Hinckley or I think it was Mark David Chapman. Though I think that Lennon and was in Attica, I think, and knew that the prison guard was also a stand-up comedian and would like pitch jokes to him. Like
nice.
How great of a, I mean, can you imagine getting jokes pitched to you by, I want to say it was Mark David Chapman. Yeah. He'd be like, hey, like, you know how like people give you bits like, hey, you should talk about my niece. She's really funny. Or like, oh, you should talk about remote control or whatever the hell it is. But it's Mark David Chapman in prison. Yeah.
That it had to be Chapman because Hinckley's like checked out, dude. He's like,
we had a dude who was suspected of being a serial killer. And he even went by 3 names. I mean, the dude.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was one like an early white guy with face tattoo dude.
Okay. Yeah.
And down here
when it meant something.
Yeah, we were about 8 years behind when Philly started it, so it was brand new in the early 2000s down here. And he would go to infantilism after he was incarcerated for a while if he was having mostly female officers like check on him, look after him. He had to be separated for a while in booking.
Yeah.
They didn't know what this dude was going to do. And this is the dude who burned down a church, had sex on the altar, and sacrificed a bunch of animals at a church altar. And that was not one of the crimes he was in there for.
So he
charged him for
that. So he was the pastor?
Yeah. He was kind of a little dude, but he
it's
killed,
a weird service, but I may be going.
Hey. Yeah.
He killed an old couple in North Carolina and like 2 others in Georgia. And he was really an opportunist, but like one day he's just in there and he's like got his commissary when they order their food or whatever. He's got this bag. He's like, and this lady Robin, who I worked with at the time, she's like, John Scott, what are you doing? He goes, well, they call me a serial killer, and he just had like Fruity Pebbles in there. He was just smashing it in a bag. He's like, I just thought I'd prove him right, and he was just doing it to be cute in front of Robin, and Robin's an old lady, so she's like a matriarch.
Yeah.
Like, well, honey, you're not gonna be able to eat that. He's like, I just pour milk in it. It's just fine, Ms. Robin. And I'm just like, this is the creepiest shit between the two of them,
dude,
I could ever watch.
That's amazing.
Aside from the murders, I mean, that's a pretty
It's
good
pretty
line.
good for
Yeah,
solitary in the Randolph County Jail.
So were they dating or what happened?
No, she was a
Oh.
married. She was a married woman
Wow.
in her 60s.
Wow. Hey, life ain't over at 60. I got a t-shirt that says
Well, it
that.
is if John Scott gets that door open.
My bumper
Yeah, he
sticker
does.
says that. Life ain't you know, it's a good retirement plan.
Yeah, that's why all those ties were clip on. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I distracted you. You were going to say something about Halloween.
I didn't know if you were like a big Halloween guy, dress up and that sort of thing.
I'm not a big like dress up guy anymore. Like
Yeah.
that takes effort. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's like, oh God, it's effort. But I am a big like I love horror movies, like especially like classic ones, like spooky old, like Alfred Hitchcock, all that stuff, and even like the '70s one. I love horror movies, and then like our neighborhood at like in my bit like gets all decked out, so it's like we just walk around at night and like look at all the lights and everything. We give out candy. I feel like it's a very low lift
Yeah.
holiday, like unless you, and it's fun to get dressed up sometimes, but it's like if you don't have to do that, it's just it's fun and candy, boys. It's fun
Yeah,
and
it is.
candy.
That's all it is.
I used to like really go all out, and then this is like in my 20s, I would go all out, put all this, makeup on or whatever. Well, that was just outside of Halloween, but like on
Yeah, that was
Halloween
sure.
also,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. That's a Saturday night. Yeah.
and you just get bombed on Halloween, and then you wake up with like a sty and like you're
Mhm.
just covered in
Yes.
the same color makeup all over your face.
Your buddy is stained red from the red makeup he put all over his stupid bald head the night before.
Yeah. Was
Yeah.
My senior year of college, me and my friend Ruben Ortiz, very
Oh.
funny guy who is he just got a spot on, I think, Law and Order. He's an actor
Oh,
now
wow.
up in New York, and he's got a little spot on it. But he and I were fraternity brothers, and we decided to go as two of the three Beastie Boys.
College. Sorry.
I know. Ooh, look at me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I went to
Professor.
14th grade. But we went to our Halloween party, like our big fraternity party, as two of the three members of the Beastie Boys from the Sabotage video.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
So we just went to the Salvation Army and got 70s looking clothes, and we were Cochise and whoever. And I was so wasted, passed out in those clothes, woke up the next day with just a rash, kind of like I was a college kid. I didn't think to wash them after getting them from the Salvation Army, and like there was definitely some infestation in those, and like for like a week I had to get some. Yeah,
I
there was
I
some
thought
lotion involved.
you would have woke up and busted up the party. Like,
Yeah, I
that's
know.
right.
Just
You can
kick
get
down
out of
the
here.
door.
I think like kids' costumes now are ridiculously detailed. And I remember like having just a little mask and like
That
plastic
trash bag.
Yeah,
Oh,
trash
yeah.
Costumes, yeah.
The
It's like,
Ben
oh, I'm the
Cooper
Hulk.
ones or whatever.
That's right. Ben Cooper. They made a
And
documentary
it literally
on that,
just said who you were. It's like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
literally said Casper the Ghost.
Yeah. So I was walking around with my nephew trick or treating last year, and like some fucking velociraptor jumped out at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was movie quality. I'm like, you can't do that to me. I haven't adjusted to that yet.
Well, you pushing down your nephew and like, hey, damn, as you ran was a pretty classy move.
They don't
Exactly.
listen, dude. They don't want to be fed. They like to hunt.
They do.
Okay?
They do. They really do. I like to give extra candy to any kid who trick or treats not dressed as a superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, another Spider-Man, another Deadpool. Like, do something, like dress up like a dishwasher or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, look, it's he's a bunch of balloons or whatever. Like, do something. I don't need another Iron Man.
How much candy would a Maytag repairman kid get from you? You think?
A lot.
Like, just dump the bowl.
What would be the best? Like, just a kid dressed as Clara Peller, the Where's the Beef Lady.
Nice.
Like, I'm the Where's the Beef Lady. Like, it's like Halloween's over, kids. Here is the rest of my candy.
I'm gonna go inside and write you a check.
Exactly. I actually had the nicest. This old guy who lived 2 houses down from me growing up, and he was a widower. He was a very nice guy, just like nice enough guy. But he was like a little blue collar guy, like whatever. Just nice. But every year he would buy candy for kids for Halloween. And then every Halloween night at like right around dinner time, like right before we would go out, like 5, 6 o'clock, he would just show up to our door knock on the door and be like, I'm not doing this. Here, kids. And he would just give me and my brother all of his candy. He's like,
Nice.
I don't feel like sitting at the door, answering the door all night. So he would just turn his lights off, but he would buy. So out of the goodness of his heart, he would buy candy, but he just didn't want to go through the charade of like opening the door all night. He's like, here, you two kids, just take 6 bags of candy from me. Yeah.
That's
It was
awesome.
and he did it every year. It was great.
And you made out like a bandit on a
It was
sugar
the
high.
best. It was the best.
I miss those days.
Are you guys big Halloween guys?
I love it. I think it's probably my favorite.
It's one of the
holiday.
pure holidays. Like it's just a have a good time holiday.
I feel like Halloween and Christmas are also the best nostalgia holidays.
Mhm.
And they're the ones that probably the best pop culture holidays too. Like there's so much media about like watching Rudolph or watching A Christmas Story or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's also like watching horror movies, watching, Charlie Brown, Great Pumpkin, or by the way, maybe my favorite, and it's laugh out loud funny, is Garfield's Halloween Adventure.
Already
from,
watched it.
It's
Already watched it.
It is laugh out loud funny for adults. And it actually gets a little scary at the end. Like I remember being a kid being like, it's a little spooky with those pirates. There are so many funny jokes in that special. It's so good.
Do you accidentally sing along with Dr. John with the one thing I'm not, he's a scaredy cat?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Every
The
time.
whole "This is the night." Yeah, yeah. That,
Yep.
my brother and I had just taped off of CBS on VHS commercials and all, like Almond Joy commercials and all, was Great Pumpkin and Garfield's Halloween, and we would just watch that year round. Like April, we just like,
Yep.
oh, we're watching Halloween Adventure.
Dude,
course.
YouTube has these
Why not?
compilations of like these 80s and 90s blocks of like with commercials, the whole just like those tapes.
Yeah.
All that stuff. I
It's-
watched an Eat the Cat like the other day because I watched
Wait,
stuff
what was
all
it?
through Eat the Cat. It was a later cartoon.
Okay.
But it was I forgot that cartoon existed and it was hilarious. I mean,
Yeah.
just the kids are ugly and shitty, like who he lives with. And he's just like this really good cat, and he gets punished for all the goodness that he does. But it's hilarious. The whole thing's hilarious.
I remember
that's great.
the
Yeah.
Ghostbusters had a really good.
Yeah, the Samhain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
actually is pretty scary.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Not as an adult. I mean, I
yeah,
didn't get
these kids
scared as
today
an
are a bunch of
adult, dude.
pussies. eh?
No, I mean I didn't like the other day. I didn't get scared at all.
Your
so.
mom had you in blackface for a couple of years.
Yes, there
Uh,
was a while that happened. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the school pictures. Were
Yeah.
always good. There was a funny show, and I can't talk to the bulk of it, but there was do you guys remember Space Cats?
Yes.
It was like
vaguely.
mid-'80s.
Yeah,
Yes.
And I want to say it was like maybe Henson, or like Paul Fusco, like Alf kind of. So it was like live action puppets
yeah. Mm-hmm.
for like the beginning of it, and then it would throw to the
The cartoon.
cartoons, Space Cats. And I want to say it was Charles Nelson Riley was the disembodied omnipotent ruler of cats. And he was kind of like the Wizard of Oz, kind of like just floated head.
Yes.
But he was the dork, DORC, the disembodied. So, oh yes, dork. And then at the end of every episode, just like G.I. Joe would always do, knowing is
The
half the
wrap up
battle,
lesson.
Yeah.
they do and it was always really funny. And it would be the Space Cats and like, all right, kids, here's your lesson for today. It's something you always have to remember, be dangerous. And then they just had a burlap sack, and it's like, never stick your face into a bag of angry squirrels.
Yeah. You're
And
gonna
it's
make me
just
go back and
that's-
watch that, dude.
That's really funny. Yeah.
Well, dude, you are a damn treat every time we get
Yes.
to have you on. No shit.
I get 2 treats, 2
Well,
of them.
here's the thing, like,
Oh, there's more coming. Don't
yeah,
worry.
before
Your
we
DM.
met all you guys, like you guys were already you were royalty, revered in our circle.
Yeah.
Seriously. And then
Tell
we get to
my
talk
tell
to
my
you guys.
agent that. Yeah.
I think you're getting borne out on that now, Kyle the liar. Just all the stuff you guys have done, and getting to talk to you, like you're one of the most pleasant, fun people. I could talk to you for fucking hours just about Dana Gould stuff.
By the way,
I don't-
you guys just said that, and I just looked up, and it's been an hour, and I was like, if
Yeah.
you would have asked me, I was like, we're probably at minute 30, 35.
I was thinking
right
20
now.
years.
Yeah.
Tops. And I was like, this flew by. Yeah, I hope the listeners enjoying this, because this is just like the most fun conversation. Yeah.
Let's do more.
Yeah, we'll do this
Yes.
more for sure. I want
Yes.
to tell you a quick Todd Glass story since you're friends with him.
We just did a week together. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh shit!
So, he was on our show a while ago, right? And we were doing this is before
Back at the
video,
beginning, yeah.
and he agreed to be on the show, which is great because like
Remind me, what year
idolized him.
did you guys start roughly?
I
Like how
don't
long ago?
even remember. It was a while ago.
Like pre-pandemic?
Yeah,
Yes.
pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
But like the beginning was really
2017.
just like sort of local
Okay,
stuff. We
that's
didn't really
it.
get
Yeah.
going until much later.
Right.
So he was like, "Hey, just call me." He gave me his number. He said, "Call me and we'll figure out what we're doing." Right.
Yeah.
So I call him and I'm like nervous anyway because it's Todd Glass and this is a guy that I've watched on the A-list and like forever, right? And
Yeah.
he's so funny. And I call him and he picks up and immediately goes, "Motherfucker." And I'm like, I was like, what? And he's like, "Hey, I was just on the phone with you." And I'm like, Todd, I've never spoken with you in my life. He's like, "What?" He's like, "Wait, hold on. Look, I was just on the other line with my friend and something happened. Call me back." And I hang up and I'm like, "What just happened?" And so then I call him back and we work everything out. He comes on the show and about, I don't know, what do you say, 5 or 10 minutes in, he's like, "All right."
He's literally taking over the show.
He's like, "I'm taking over the
It's
show." He's
amazing.
like, "It's the Todd Glass show," and does this whole thing.
And we're singing with him.
Yes, and he
Yes.
takes over our show, and it's like one of the most fun experiences I've ever had. He's so funny. I would love to have him back on sometime.
Oh,
but
It's he's the best, and he's again somebody in that Dana Gould vein of like
Mhm.
it's a show and it's silly and he's kind of interactive, but it's like he's also like interactive because he's like, I'm taking charge of everything
Yes.
right
Yeah.
now. I don't necessarily need you here. I'm having a party in my brain, and if you want to join me, that's fine. But honestly, I don't care.
Keep up, sister. We ain't got no brakes on this thing.
I felt like after that first, phone call, the first words, I was like, all right, this is gonna be the worst or the best, and it was a little of both.
But-
It was
Yeah.
What you said you got some stuff coming up. Is there anything you can talk about? Because we love to.
It's honestly none of your business.
None of
Oh,
my.
all right.
Actually, Jason, if
I
you
had that
could leave, I just want to tell one of you. If
All right,
that's
here we go.
yeah, no, okay, no, all right, you can stay.
Yeah, you're
no,
so nice to me.
I'll let you guys. By the way, you guys are getting this is an exclusive. I can't give too
Nice.
much information, but I'm going to do a big tease right now. Not a strip tease.
Mm,
Or yeah,
oh, wait.
Well,
I don't
after
wanna-
the cameras stop.
after the cameras.
Okay.
No, so here's what we're doing. And again, thank you, by the way, so much for the love and the compliments about the special. I'm very proud of it. And I have to give so much credit to my partner, Thomas O'Brien out in LA, Electric O'Brien Productions. But I would love for people to follow me on YouTube at Chip Chantry. I'm at Chip
Please.
Chantry on everything, Instagram, all that stuff. So all
And
the
we'll
listeners,
post all that as well for sure.
thank you. Yeah, I'm really trying to build up my. I think I still haven't mastered, like I've gotten like a bunch of new Instagram followers, so that's been really cool. But it's like still trying to get into the YouTube game, and I don't think of it as like social media as much of like, oh, I have to follow this person on YouTube
Yeah.
or subscribe or whatever. So I would love for you people to subscribe to me on YouTube. So one of the things that
And by the way, you're literally one of my top 5 Twitter looks like every day. I check
Thank
your
you.
shit every day.
thank you. I'm also on Blue Sky now too, because that's where a lot of the cool kids have gone. Like that
Ooh.
I like the Blaine Capatches of the world and all. Who
Ooh.
Blaine is one of my the funniest people. So Thomas and I have worked together for like a decade on different shows that we've worked on, and they've all been like clip shows. The first one we worked on actually was John McKeever brought me on the show. John from McKeever from Tires.
Oh, yes.
Not familiar.
Yeah, we don't know
He was
John.
on the show. Yeah.
Great
So it
guy.
was the writer's room of that show was me, Thomas, my partner, John McKeever, and then this guy Gary Lucy from out in LA, who's just this machine of a joke writer. And then, are you guys familiar with the Found Footage Festival? Nick and
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
do
Yeah.
It was those two guys.
Oh,
So that was the
wow.
writer's room. It was me, Thomas, John McKeever, Gary, and the two guys from the Found Footage Festival.
Holy
It was
shit.
so much fun, and the show was it was a warped show, and it had its issues and was sort of panned, but the writers room itself was the first writers room I was ever in, and it was the most fun thing I've ever done. So since then, Thomas and I have worked on a bunch of projects. He brought me out to LA right before the pandemic to write on a show that he was show running. He helped get me a development deal for a show for that we were going to do for this production company, Science and Discovery Channel. They were ready to buy it. The pandemic happened, all that went away, everything fell.
Oh,
So
man.
anyway, long story long, here's why I'm whining about that. We're like, a lot of the shows that we did were like clip shows, and those shows don't really exist anymore because it's all gone to YouTube, it's gone to
Mhm.
TikTok,
Right.
Instagram, whatever. So we're like, we can either just be dinosaurs, or let's get into this game and like take all of these years of experience, especially that he has, and like put it on. Like, again, our first big project was the special, and now we're starting. Actually, you can see. I mean, this is my basement right here. For
Yes,
anybody,
your
like,
haunted basement, which we love.
yes, my haunted basement, and it actually is we've turned it into a TV studio. I have like
Oh wow.
cameras and lights and a teleprompter and the whole thing. That we're starting to do some content we're going to be putting out. We are starting a podcast that's going to be out either late this year or early 2025. But we're getting in the works. But here is the big thing that we're doing. Part of the thrust of the podcast, it's just two buddies who have worked in comedy together forever in writers' rooms. We kind of want to pull the curtain back on that and let people see sort of the writing process of like some of these YouTube videos we're doing. We're just going to be, again, talking about fun stuff. We're going to have fun guests on. But we also want to talk about like getting out there and doing things in the world that we're both kind of nervous people too. So we're like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. It was like, no, we can do things, and we're going to push each other to accomplish some goals. And the big goal in this podcast, which is also sort of the reward for us, is here's the exclusive. Without giving too much away, next Thanksgiving, so Thanksgiving 2025, a year from now, 13 months from now, our hope is to we're hoping a couple dozen, if not a couple hundred people with us to go away to a tropical destination that we will unveil where that is once the podcast gets started.
Sure.
And I'm going to be doing a show, at least one show, and maybe recording my next special in this tropical location. We want people to come with us for a week or part of a week over Thanksgiving of 2025 in a tropical location. It's going to be our own little kind of comedy festival that we're putting together, starring Chip Chantry, maybe some other comics, but Thomas and I are going to motivate people to say, you know what, screw the family vacation. Let's jump on a plane, go have some fun at this in the tropics, have a good time, and there's going to be some comedy and maybe some other things going on there too. So that is the tease.
Nice.
Sounds awesome.
That's what we're going to be
So
doing.
much
We would
better
love
than
for you two
fucking
gentlemen
stupid
to join us.
Hey,
Yes. So
Yes, dude.
we want everybody to come
Hate
with
my
us
family.
next Thanksgiving. So if you follow me on YouTube and Instagram, we're going to start in a couple weeks. The podcast is going to start, and you'll find out all about that. And we would love to have a bunch of people join us on this crazy journey that we never thought we could do. But we're like, why not do it? We're going to go to this tropical place.
Why not?
We're going to have some comedy, and we're going to bring couple hundred of our best friends with us. That is our
love
goal.
it.
That is our
fucking
goal
wait.
for next year. Yeah.
I
Cannot
honestly,
fucking wait, dude.
Yeah.
And you guys are the first ones to hear about it. So yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Hey,
Yeah.
and everybody go listen, watch, Move Closer. It is excellent.
You
Thank
will
you guys.
laugh out loud like a goon who usually
Yes.
likes to stab meat in a grocery store. It's been proven. This science.
Yep.
yeah,
it
I
is.
mean,
But
that's-
thank you guys. Yeah.
That's the proper approach. And
Yeah.
we'll post everything up. Chip, I thank you so much for coming on, being so
Oh,
cool.
thank you
bro.
guys. Anytime. This is like like when you called me, when you guys texted me, I was like, oh my God, I've been so excited ever since you guys asked me to do this. So
Well,
anytime.
we had a
anytime.
little setback, but we were trying to.
John died a little bit.
Yeah, it's fine.
He's
It's
fine.
It's good.
He's
Yeah,
fine now.
you feeling better now? I'm glad. I'm glad.
I kind of miss it, but
Sure.
That
Sure.
Sweet Mistress Death.
yeah,
Yes.
we'll get some nice quiet time. But,
But see, we love you. Honestly,
Love
cannot
you
wait
guys
to
too.
see
And by
you
the way,
again.
I have to say this was, I've been on a couple times. This is probably my favorite time I've been on, and it's not lost on me that this is the first time I was not on without James Heskey,
I was
and that's why it was
gonna-
my favorite.
I was gonna.
So
we're pouring one out for James
for James. Yes.
after this.
Yes.
because we love the
absolutely.
Heskey.
Yes.
all
yeah.
right, buddy.
All right. Love you guys.
We'll
See you
talk to you
soon.
soon, buddy.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bye.